Welcome to the Week 5 Postgame show presented by Body by Ryan Fitness. I have an all-star crew. We have a face you haven't seen in a while. You've heard him in Sam Leventhal. But we are presented by Body by Ryan Fitness. Start your nutrition coaching today. Do good, be good, feel good. Email bodybyryan@yahoo.com. The link below, as always, to his YouTube channel. I flew through the Open to get to the games that I think we hyped them up a little more than they actually turned out to be. Now, it would help if, Lob and Throne and Sportsbook Moose, I think, would have added something to this night, and obviously they weren't played tonight. But the games that were played, we had one really good one. We nailed the game of the week, and that's always good. Monstars Flint. The Monstars came out victorious by 4. I would like to spend a little bit of time on this one. Some end-of-game stuff that was interesting. I thought the Monstars were a little trigger-happy, giving Flint some extra possessions in the end where they almost took advantage of them. But what in that game down the stretch did you learn about these two teams? And, the Monstars win, so, that's first. But
yeah, we'll stick to the positives. Flint doesn't give up, and the Monstars can turn it around when all the momentum seems to be going the other way. They were up by 9 with 2 minutes. Everyone had really written Flint's obituary, and then they come all the way back. It's a 1-point game, and then Allen makes that huge stop. Cody makes that huge stop.
Cody.
Yeah, makes that huge stop for the Monstars and seals the win. It was a great game.
Yep. Anyone else over here?
I just think the Langston brothers stand out there. That duo was scary for the league.
Were you watching this one?
I was kind of watching from afar over at Court 2, and the Monstars are very resilient pulling this one out. Obviously, a little bit different than the Monstars that won the championship just a season ago,
for sure.
Adding Brett Cody, adding the Langstons. So I like to see that this Monstars team can still be a little bit resilient behind Reggie Stewart leading this squad. He was a champion last year, and it's nice to see that a new team is kind of giving some of these top teams some trouble in the Flint Tropics. I like that they're kind of top 4, top 5 in the power rankings, and that we're really seeing some new team rise to the top. They could give some teams some trouble late in the playoffs. I know I say that a lot about Team Moose, but Flint Tropics, they're like Summer 16 BS&B.
Yeah,
For those of you that were there for that.
And I thought that game was very telling. A lot of fouls. I think both ways, more than both teams.
43.
43. So we had good. You came prepared for the post-game show. But I think that was very telling of those two teams. I think the Monstars definitely earned some respect there, and I'm sure they wanted to see Joe Catapano up on this lovely panel. But he's hiding.
Hiding in Bristol.
He's hiding for a few weeks. One team that doesn't hide, even on social media, No Limit, and Stranger Danger, for that matter. Those two faced off. Stranger Danger last year, I know we said this a lot, gave him a game. This year, not so much. I think they were more worried about themselves than No Limit. But No Limit, Howie Miller, right there, over and over. Nothing but net. And I know he had a huge night, but maybe what about Stranger Danger? What about No Limit? Are we taking away from that one?
Well, you heard his teammates with every passing 3 that he hit saying that's the best score in the league. That's the best score in the league. It was hard to argue it tonight. And but Stranger Danger and No Limit weren't the only teams facing off in that game. It was Stranger Danger against Stranger Danger. The internal conflicts have to stop. It's got to be so hard to collect yourselves and try to mount a comeback when you're too busy fighting with each other. So they really just took themselves out of the game. No Limit had the perfect game plan for them. They saw how many turnovers they committed last week, so they put on the press, forced a bunch of steals, and got in their heads.
Yeah, I thought a lot of runouts. Anything else on them?
It's like watching James Harden play James Harden, play James Harden, play James Harden. There was zero defense on the side of Strange Danger. They're chirping from one end, and obviously No Limit's chirping from the other end. But when I say it's like watching James Harden, nobody wants to close out on Strange Danger. Like Ronte keeps saying, Howie Miller's the best shooter in this league.
Yeah.
Got to close out, and that's why No Limit won this game. And there wasn't really a huge performance from No Limit.
Speaking of chirping, I swear we didn't plan this. The Brotherhood, 107-94. Too easy. When it's something like that, you gotta take advantage of it. They beat my squad, Run TMC tonight. I know. I'm sure Quincy's stats. Someone has those ready to go. But
35 points.
35 points. But what the Brotherhood? So Mike came late. Mike Davis. No Robles again. I know he's still hurt, but did that team show you anything, or was it kind of just status quo for them?
Just seemed like business as usual. We just talked about Howie Miller, but Russ Payton, 29 points on 13 of 17 shooting, so he was incredibly efficient. And it seems like the Brotherhood's really turned it on since that close comeback win against Central Chalk, but they've been rolling pretty easily since then. So they're a scary team right now, for sure.
Here's the thing about the Brotherhood: a completely dominant 3/4 of the game. At the end of the first quarter, down 20-15. That is not the sign of the best team in the league. If they're not playing with Mike Davis, Russ Payton has to take over, and he really struggled in quarter one. So that's a sign of things to come, that the Brotherhood are showing some weakness, and maybe they're going to get run over by no one because they're just bringing stars on stars on stars. As you can see, Rashawn Hendricks, 2-time Player of the Week, and in my opinion, making himself a candidate for MVP, even as fifth man.
Yeah.
So it's hard to see them really as the top team if they can't come first in quarter one.
I'm sure we'll talk more about them come August in the playoffs. In Week 8, I was talking to Ronte before. He's very aware of Week 8, and that's when No Limit and Brotherhood play. So that'll be fun. I can't wait to see what he has in store for that. Now over to Court 2, Untouchables and Central Chocolate. Central Chocolate won. I thought they handled the game pretty well and kind of had it under control for most of it. And you look up where, with a minute left, and it's an 8-point game, and the Untouchables had like the ball and a pretty good 3, which then maybe they still weren't going to lose. It just gets interesting at that point. And it was closer than I'm sure Central Chocolate expected. But I saw Tyron hitting some shots. Carmine was there. But maybe what from the Untouchables stood out because they were able to kind of almost erase that deficit.
Yeah, they really were. They stuck with it the entire time despite falling behind by a lot early in that game. And I thought what was really cool when I was looking at the box score was that they actually, the Central Chocolate only scored 51 out of their 89 or a total of 51 out of their 89 points in the first half. So they got off to a real good start, and they clearly came out the gates with the winning mentality. But once they got that lead, they got a little bit lackadaisical, complacent. Obviously, that happens to teams sometimes when they jump out to these large amounts of leads. But the Untouchables just stuck with it the entire time, and they came back and they were able to make it an 8-point game. But Carmine never stopped and scored 44 points tonight. And it was just another Carmine night. Whenever Carmine scores 20+, it's kind of like when Russell Westbrook scores a triple-double. It's like, you're impressed, but you expect it at the same time. So I thought that was what summed it up for tonight.
I thought for the Untouchables, scrappy. Right. I thought that was good. Anything over there?
No, I agree. Carmine's a beast.
That's it. Nice and easy. STP and the Double Dribblers going on at 8 o'clock over there. Maybe 7 o'clock, right? STP, 76-67. That was one of those games, again, we thought might have been a chance for the Double Dribblers to make some noise. They were a little shorthanded. I think this was the week of the shorthanded teams. We'll get to the ultimate shorthanded battle in a second, but STP deserves some credit. Are they 3-2 now?
Yeah.
They are above 500. There you go. So for all the crap I give them, I know Catapano wanted a shout out on Goon. We'll get there, and his boys in STP. But what did I wasn't watching too closely. Was it just a lack of depth from the Double Dribblers, or what did STP do to get that win?
It was really just Mike Zavari. He had 28 points. I mean, he's really a catalyst for them. I mean, the Double Dribblers had Bernard Brantley, obviously, 27. He's a big part for them, but STP just had enough depth and a lot more role players and bench players than the Double Dribblers, yes, had. I mean, the thing about the Double Dribblers is they're a talented team. We just want to see something else other than Bernard show out and perform.
Yeah. And I thought today he did as best as he can today. I thought
Struggled a little bit.
Bad Boys and sometimes why. Big win for the Bad Boys. And we kind of talked about in the pregame, right? Maybe sometimes why I get a little up for this one. Again, I think they only had 4 guys, but not so much. it was all Bad Boys, right?
Yeah, the Bad Boys. I talked to Jalen Eggleston in the post game. I talked to him about really tough loss last week, obviously, coming down to the wire in overtime. And a lot of times losses like that inspire teams, to come out that next week or that next game even stronger. And I think that's exactly what it did with this Bad Boys lineup. I mean, you saw Trey come out and score 36 points. It didn't even lead his team in scoring. You got Destin, who looked like week 1 Destin with 44 points.
Wow.
And arguably those 2 guys aren't even the best player on the court that night, which was probably Jalen, who had a triple-double with 19 points, 11 rebounds, and 15 assists. So 15 assists, and his team, I think, had a total of 19 assists. So basically doing the entirety in terms of ball distributing for his team. So that was key for the Bad Boys tonight.
So now we'll need to see if they can keep that up against better opponents, which I'm sure they have coming up. Let's get to that battle of the no subs. Redemption and Goon Squad, 74-62 Goon Squad. Joe Catapano, shout out again. He picked Goon, and I mean at that point, Do you even get credit for picking? I don't know if you get credit for picking the winner of that game.
No.
So there's his half shout out. But Goon Squad wins by 12. Massaro had some nice dunks. Marconi looked like old Marconi, I think, for a little while. But I mean, that happens when you get a whole bunch of opportunities, right? Anything on this one? I mean, 4-on-4 stuff. We learned that the hard way.
Yeah, they learned it the hard way last week, and I think it helped them this week. They said that after the game ended, so they didn't have a bench last week either. I think they learned from it. And you mentioned Marconi. He had opportunities last week too, and I was feeling for him because every shot it seemed like was rimming out last week, and they were all falling tonight for basically all of Goon Squad. So they looked good. They didn't seem like they were huffing and puffing towards the end, so I think last week helped them out.
Here's the thing for Goon Squad is now going 2 weeks with just 4 guys. Marconi's getting his reps up. Massaro's getting his reps up. You don't want to see these guys come first round of the playoffs after all these reps. These guys are taking 3 after 3 after 3, and they're just pulling. You don't want to see how many are going to fall in the playoffs with these guys, especially when they have subs.
Right. So it'll be like a crazy feeling when they actually have a sub.
Yeah.
They'll be ready. They'll be happy for the subs. Fry Time and Flight Club, last but not least, only 8 games tonight. A little weird, only having 1 game going on. Feels like last fall or last summer a little bit. But Flight Club does beat Fry Time, another one of those games. We mentioned sometimes why, but another game where we thought maybe this is Fry Time's chance. This is their moment. They would come ready for it. It was a battle. I thought Bot did some things, like I mentioned on the podcast, that he would have to do, but ultimately Flight Club was too much. They were hitting some shots. They looked good for a team that we thought was kind of even competition.
I mean, I just want to say for Fry Time, they are a big team. I mean,
Yeah.
you have teams like STP, Team Moose that really use their height to their advantage. Fry Time really needs to start using their height towards their advantage because in this game, Jacob Miller for Flight Club was huge. He played an amazing game. They wouldn't close out on him from 3, and they were really just their height really was an advantage in this game. Whenever they get down low, they would score, but they just focus so much on shooting and pulling these shots. And I really would just like to put Fry Time on notice and ask them, use your height more.
Definitely. McLean's a sharpshooter when it comes to jump shots from the free throw line. I mean, he's not going to miss too many of those, and I know that from playing with him for a few years. Kevin Bott, gotta use his height. I talked to Kevin a little bit before the game, and he asked me, he goes, what's our chances of winning? I was like, a little bit more than usual. But honestly, like Greg was saying, use your height. Kevin, how tall are you?
Yeah.
Like,
Tall.
get under the basket, get the boards, get some putbacks, use your height. As for Flight Club, against Fry Time, this is kind of painful.
I think that goes for a lot of teams. Just use the advantage that you have, right? It's like
The good teams
place
do.
to leave it, and the good teams do it.
Yep.
And I think that's part of what separates. It helps to have good players, but when you take advantage of things like that, I think that's where we'll see the difference. So week 6, this week was loaded with matchups. We got gypped a little bit. Week 6 has many more good matchups. I don't know too many of them off the top of my head except Run TMC No Limit. So Ronte has said there's going to be a whole bunch of things in store. He already warned me it's not personal. So good God. Are we in store?
It's
It's a little.
It's definitely
It's a little bit personal.
It's 100% personal.
Stay tuned to the Twitter for that. It's not fair when they have Joe Hitani working with them as well. The old Kakambas and Renegades guy, great social media guy, and he's just feeding No Limit. Not very fair. But yeah, stay tuned for that. Week 6 next week. Hopefully we'll be back to our full slate of games. For the guys, Joey Zacco, presented by Body by Ryan Fitness, and Sportslook Passing Camp, another sponsor of ours. That's like prime real estate with the Legacy League. So well done, Steve Christie. But we'll see you for Week 6 next Monday night, July 10th, and 4 games left. So enjoy the 4th, and we will see you for Week 6.